Hey everybody, Matt Siltala here again alongside Dave Rohr, coming at you for another episode of our Business of Digital podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about influencer and micro-influencer identification. So this is a little bit of a shout out or promo, if you will, for Pubcon. This is going to be something I'm speaking on at Pubcon Vegas coming up in November. It's going to be November 6th through the 10th. And so again, if anyone's listening that's going to be there, would love to, let us know in the comments or whatnot, and make sure that you come to the session. And so, first of all, hey Dave, how you doing? You there?
I'm here.
All right.
I'm good.
So this is something that we love talking about this. At least a lot of our conversations have talked about the different types of influencers, and a lot of times when people think about influencers, they think about, and I'm going to be using this because you're in Chicago and one of my all-time greatest heroes ever, they think that they have to get the Michael Jordans of the influencers. And although that would be awesome, it's not always needed or necessary. And so that's why I'm really glad, in this presentation, but also in this episode, we could talk a little bit about the different types of influencers and the micro-influencers. And I'll go ahead and start it off, and then you can jump in whenever you want on this, or if I say something that sparks something. But one of the things that I wanted to help everybody know or know about with this is something that I'm always sharing when I talk about influencer marketing in any way. There's a gal here in our area. She's a senior this year, but she started this off with this business, if you will, when she was a sophomore, and just from Instagram and her little micro influencers on what she does on Instagram.
Wait, hold on, Matt.
Yeah?
I would say, just for those listening, what is the difference between an influencer and a micro influencer?
So an influencer, I guess, would have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of followers on Instagram or Twitter, wherever. Pick a network, whereas a micro influencer might even just have 1,000 people, but the 1,000 people that are following them are really engaged and are really people that interact and that they have a good influence over, if you will.
Would it be too general to say, and you use the Michael Jordan, like a Michael Jordan, LeBron James, the Kardashians, or even someone in, like duct tape marketing for business. Someone like that would be a big influencer. That's the huge one. A micro influencer would be someone that maybe within the city, maybe within your small, like if it's a really small industry,
correct,
is more of a mover and a shaker of very, very specific verticals.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Like, let's say in Chicago, we know that you love finding awesome breweries, and so you had mentioned at one point finding there was an influencer that basically had gone around and was reviewing and taking pictures of all the different pubs in a certain area or the different bars and whatnot. And so that would be someone that was a micro influencer in that specific area, and even more specific into a certain type of topic. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, getting back to the story though that I was sharing is this lady. She's a senior this year in high school, but she has a really good following, and there's a lot of ladies around here that own businesses that are selling, like the LuLaRoe and just the Jane.com type stuff. And these guys all have Instagram accounts, and they go to her and they give her a swimsuit, or they don't even offer her a lot of money. Mostly it's just a product exchange, and she'll just post about it on her Instagram. And let's say that this company has 200 of these, she'll sell them out within a day. And so that's, again, if you're a small business and you're selling products like that, there's a lot of great opportunity for those type of influencers, and they're not going to cost you any money. And who wouldn't pay? I'm guessing a swimsuit could be $100, $150, a lady's swimsuit anyway, and your product cost on that, I'm guessing, is not even close to that. But even giving that away for 200 sales, very worth it. Thoughts?
Yeah. Sorry, I was looking something up. Like, yeah, I like the going for the very local people, especially And I was just trying to look up Joe's influencer network thing that's based there in Phoenix, and I couldn't remember the name.
Gotcha.
But yeah, trying to find those types of people that are very, very local. And I actually was working on something similar for a client where they're based here in Chicago, and we were trying to find micro influencers in different kind of all over the city, with the hopes that they would find the content, find our special, and then share it within all of their, neighborhood groups, next door type groups, within their Facebook groups, with any Google, with any of their groups that they have, and any, other communities, and try to seed it through them.
And you bring up something really, really important that I don't want to overlook. And I think it's important for us to talk about, because it's something that I've noticed more recently. Like you say, next door, for example. Like I'm telling you, how many times, and again, there's just a group of like 400 or 500 people in my neighborhood on next door. But when they get on there and they ask, hey, who's someone that you recommend for AC? Okay, well, boom. Perfect opportunity where those micro influencers can help you. And so, if you're an AC guy and you're coming back to the same neighborhood a lot, having a conversation with someone and saying, hey, are you on next door? Or if there's anyone that ever asks about, services that are needed that I do, maybe mention me. There's many different ways, but it's pretty funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of times we think, well, I have to just be on Instagram, or I have to just be on Twitter or Facebook or Pinterest or whatever to make this whole micro or influencer thing work. And it's not true. There's all sorts of other opportunities like next door. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
And this isn't, maybe it's new-ish, but it's not something really brand new. I mean, there's Michael Jordan. I mean, I just saw an interview with Knight, the guy that founded, Nike. And he talked about getting Tiger Woods. He talked about getting Michael Jordan. And, you could say influencer or pitchman or, celebrity, endorsement. To me, it's been going on for a long time. It's just, it hasn't trickled down to this level. And maybe it has, but people really didn't think about it that way. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that this isn't brand new, but it kind of is. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and what's crazy about it is, like, I think about the other day, I mentioned that a conference that I was speaking at, and I said the name of someone, and my little 10-year-old was like, oh, what? Who's that? And he's like, you're going to be speaking with him? And I'm like, yeah, I don't even know who he is. And my son's like, I listen to him all the time on YouTube. He's like my favorite YouTube star. And so it's like, again, going back to that whole conversation of these are influencers. I mean, our kids are not being influenced so much by the Michael Jordans every day anymore. They're being influenced by these smaller YouTubers that have, 10,000 followers or whatever, and it fits in their target, and they're loved by these guys. You know what I'm saying?
Especially the different markets. Like the 13-year-old, he'll tell me about all the YouTubers and podcasters and stuff that he listens to, and I don't know who any of them are.
Yeah.
And then I go and look them up, and I might know a couple. He might mention a couple names, and I've heard of it. But then I'm like, did I hear it from him, or did I run across some content or something they did? There's just, depending on your market, they're in your vertical, in your space, in even your town. You could probably find a podcaster, video YouTuber, someone that has some sort of audience, and work with them.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me of something the other day when I was driving here in close to the Phoenix area, Arizona. There's a guy that just had a big YouTube sticker on the back, and right underneath it, I'm assuming it was his name. And I took a picture of it. Maybe we could drop it in the post on this so people can see. But I just thought that was another brilliant way. Like, people are creating these YouTube channels and realizing that, hey, I can be a little micro influencer with a certain group of people and carve out myself a pretty good niche and make a pretty good business doing it.
Yeah, the only one in Phoenix I know is Clintus.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'll have to go back and look at the pictures. And like I said, everyone listening to this podcast, you'll be able to see it. We'll throw it in the episode post, but I can't remember what it was. But it just got me thinking. It's like, that's brilliant. It got me thinking about, hey, could I do a business of digital podcast? Or anyway, just stuff like that. Just gave me lots more ideas for people that we work with, that have great YouTube channels. Just another way of driving business to them and viewers to them.
So what are a couple of things you would suggest if someone is looking at an influencer or micro-influencer? What are some of the, I don't want to say, there's vanity metrics and there's other stuff that, you can go, and we've talked about it before, you can go and buy 5,000 Twitter followers.
Right.
Or I can go buy a whole bunch of, stuff on Instagram. What are some things that people should look for as they start to kind of dip their toe and start to look at, maybe there's someone in my area, what should they look for?
Most importantly, one of the things that I would say would be engagement, okay? Engagement, in my opinion, is much more important than numbers, because how many times have you seen an Instagram account that has 150,000 plus followers, and they post something and there's only 200 likes or 1 or 2 comments, okay? It's those ones that have 1,000 followers or 5,000 followers or 10,000 followers, but yet they have hundreds, if not thousands, of comments and thousands of likes, okay? So I'm looking more for the engagement and what kind of a quality person it is versus just numbers. Because again, like you mentioned, we could get 50,000 followers in a second through Fiverr.com. They're all going to be bots, and it's ridiculous. And again, I'm not saying that you can't find those people with hundreds and even millions of followers that might end up working with you, because we ended up finding some mommy bloggers that we've done some work with one of our clients, and they were really awesome to work with. But again, it was going back to when we were identifying those persons, engagement and the kind of quality conversations that they're having with their audience. But then also it can come down to money and or products. What are you willing to offer them? Are they willing to just do something for you for a product? Are they willing to do something for you for product plus money? Or is it just money? Are they wanting to get an affiliate code that they can then send people and make more residual money with you? There's lots of different ways that you can engage them. But again, I think it all comes back to just the engagement and the quality of community that they have around them.
And I don't know if you want to talk about this, because this could be an entirely separate show, but what about the FTC?
Yeah, and identifying if you are a paid advertisement or spokesperson or whatever. Yeah, I'm not legal, and maybe that's a great episode. We get a legal personnel in here to maybe talk to more some of the legalities of it. I mean, we could obviously drop rules to the FTC or whatever. There's links that share with you what it is, but how on earth do we know how to interpret some of that? But I think it would be a great idea for a future podcast episode.
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms I didn't know if I should.
Yeah. But I think that if, and again, I guarantee you most of these micro influencers, these smaller ones, especially the ones that are helping the smaller businesses in your local area sell 100, 200, pieces of clothing or whatever, they're not doing anything with the FTC. I guarantee you. I never see any kind of, I know when one of these guys is pimping something, so to speak, and they're not giving any kind of warning. Hashtag. Exactly. They're not doing any kind of that. Now, does it make it legal? I don't know. Do I think that the FTC has time to go after every single one of those? No, absolutely not. There's no way. Now, if you're a million plus influencer, are you going to have something, a little bit more of a radar on you? Absolutely. There's things, with taxes and the IRS, things that set them off that make certain people get an audit or whatnot. And so I think there are those things with different types of influencers, but the micro ones, I would be really hard pressed to tell, the percentage of how many of them actually are going to be gone after. I don't know. But again, I'm saying all this not knowing any of the statistics, and I'm not being legal.
One quick question. So what kind of, maybe just talk about one tool, or just, is there any tools that you've used in the past, or do you just kind of dig around in whatever network you're looking for?
I usually just dig around the networks that I'm looking for. Obviously, Moz has the tool, the follower wonk and whatnot. I haven't used that in a while, but most of the time I'm using Google, and then I'm using the tools like Pinterest has, and then there's great search options within, any one of these. Like I'm thinking with Pinterest or with Instagram, Twitter, searching specific hashtags. There are different tools for influencers, and there's just way too many of them to repeat. And I've actually got them all listed out in a PowerPoint, and I'll either drop a link to the PowerPoint or we'll share some of those links in the content of this blog post. But one of the best ways for identifying again is the sites themselves and seeing the kind of engagement that they have. Looking at certain hashtags, looking at people that they follow. Can you identify anyone that maybe is in their quote unquote industry or in their influence that you might be able to engage with? There might be someone that they're friends with that you find through them that they might have 10,000 followers instead of the main person that you're looking at that has 1 million followers, where you might be able to get in a little bit more with them. And so just doing the research on those specific sites. But then also there's there's lots of different ways to identify influencers, and we'll share some of those within the content.
So let me see, sum it up. Use metrics such as engagement.
Yep.
To figure out who works. Use the tools themselves, and there'll be other search tools to help you. One quick tip, in Twitter, you can kind of set the region. You can set where you're searching. So if Chicago, Phoenix, Portland, LA, Carbondale, Illinois, whatever city or wherever you're located, you can kind of set that stuff. And I guess I'll let you wrap it up with where you're going to be speaking again.
I'm going to be speaking at Pubcon Vegas, and this is going to be, sorry, what?
Where at? Pubcon Vegas?
Yeah, Pubcon Vegas. Pubcon Las Vegas, and I can't remember the exact day, but it's November 6th.
6th through the 9th or 6th through the 10th, I think.
Yeah, it's just that whole week, basically. I'm going to be speaking on it, and we'll drop a direct link to the session details, so anyone that may want that's going to be in Pubcon, make sure you come by and say, hey, I heard you on the podcast, or leave a comment. I would love, both Dave and I are going to be there, and so we would love to hear from anybody, and I think it would be fun maybe to do a couple shows with some guests there at Pubcon as well.
Yes, we should probably try to do that.
Maybe we can get Brett to do something with us.
Ooh, there you go. He's usually running around. We'll have to do it on the very last day.
Yeah. But, anyway, join us for that session. Looking forward to seeing everybody there, and appreciate... go ahead.
Nope, that's it.
All righty, guys. I appreciate everybody joining us on this episode. For Dave Rohr, I'm Matt Siltala, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.